Welcome to the Kingdom Business Forum, a program where we empower believers to build kingdom businesses that advance the Great Commission. I'm Vicki Norris.
I'm Patrice Sage.
Now, I met Patrice when I went through his biblical entrepreneurship training program. It personally transformed me and my business. Since then, I operate with the kingdom in mind. That's why I've joined him in this program, because now I'm passionate about helping you discover the power of kingdom principles for your business. Now, today, we are bringing our guest in by Skype, and our theme this month is on generational business transition. So we're going to speak with Henry Hutcheson, our guest from Regeneration Partners, about generational business transition. Now, Patrice, he's a kingdom business resource, Regeneration Partners is, and they help family-owned businesses with operations and leadership. Why do you think it's important, this whole topic of generational business transition?
You know, Genesis chapter 1, verse 28 talks about that we have to be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, and take dominion. When God gave the mandate to Abraham, that mandate was not just limited to Abraham's lifetime. God's dominion mandate must be multi-generational. And so this whole idea of generational transition is really about helping kingdom business people understand how to make sure that where they begin, they can pass on, and how to pass it on. It's an issue that is complicated. You may have the will and desire, but you need to know how. David passed on to Solomon the kingdom. He did it. There was some threats to that, but he did it successfully. Abraham had to pass on to Isaac and to Jacob. That was, so you see that Paul passing on to Timothy. So the whole idea of generational transition is about really how do you make sure that what God began with you can run your course and you can pass the baton to the next generation, the next person. Vicki, it's interesting. It's not always a family member. I mean, that's God's best, but it's not always a family member. So Henry's company helps families to deal with transitioning businesses from one generation to another and the intricacies of how to do that.
I love how God has gifted each one of us so uniquely, and the fact that, you'll hear in his bio just some amazing experience that he's had in every sector, across large businesses, small businesses, family-owned businesses. And I love how there really are so many kingdom-minded people who are out there ready to help you, the listener, at any point in your business. And that's what the show is about, really, is connecting you to the kingdom first, right, to God's best for business, but also to resources like Regeneration Partners that can help you build a sustainable, long-term, multi-generational business. So without further ado, I want to share with you a little bit about our guest, Henry Hutcheson. He's the executive principal with Regeneration Partners, LLC, and specializes in next generation evaluation and leadership preparation and business operations optimization within family-owned and managed enterprises. Henry's family has owned and managed 2 international third-generation enterprises, Olin Mills and Peerless Woolen Mills. Prior to joining Regeneration Partners on a full-time basis, Henry gained more than 20 years of experience in innovation development and organizational optimization with global Fortune 500 companies. He held senior management positions with companies such as Compaq Computer, UPS, Sumitomo Electric, and IBM. Henry has extensive experience and success in establishing profit initiatives, developing innovation, and increasing operational efficiency in organizations. See, Patrice, I already know I'm going to like him because operational efficiency, that's my thing. That's my thing. He's my people.
That's right.
He's an organizer. Henry has expertise in strategy, marketing, management, e-commerce, production, product management, and product development. Well, sounds like he could, fit right in at Restoring Order. He's also lived and worked in 7 countries, including China, Japan, France, and Germany. Henry communicates in English, Japanese, and French. Now that I feel totally...
He's a dynamo, isn't he?
I know! He's a dynamo, and I feel like I need to, get some more education before I talk to him. But I want to introduce you, the listener, to our guest, Henry Hutcheson. Welcome to the program, to the Kingdom Business Forum.
Thanks, Vicki and Patrice. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, thank you for joining us from Buenos Aires via Skype.
That's
we
right.
appreciate
Can you believe
very
technology?
much. I know technology. It's amazing. I want to share with our listeners that they've just tuned into the Kingdom Business Forum, that we have Henry Hutcheson on the line with us, who is the Executive Principal of Regeneration Partners. Henry, in reading your bio, I saw that not only do you have experience in every phase of business, it seems, even with some multinational companies, international companies. So what is it about family-owned businesses that really strikes something in you that makes you want to focus there?
It's a great question, and the real answer is that, we didn't really choose this. It kind of chose us. My brother and I grew up working at our family's business, Olin Mills, and at one point I left the family business, and he continued on. We both coincidentally got degrees in psychology, not knowing exactly what we were going to do with a degree in psychology. Not to belittle anybody who does, because I did. And I went the path of working in the corporate world with IBM and Compaq and UPS and traveled all over the world, while my brother worked inside of Olin Mills. And when I graduated from business school in a degree in management, my brother had decided that he was going to leave Olin Mills. And part of what happened at Olin Mills is that there was my grandfather who started the company, and he had 4 children, and my 2 uncles were running the business. And the dynamics of my brother working with my 2 uncles and my uncles working with each other got so complex that they brought in a person called a family business consultant. And at that time, my brother had an epiphany. And he gave me a call and said, look, you and I have worked in a family business. We both have degrees in psychology. We both have business degrees, and we both have great business experience. Let's take this and go help family businesses around the world become better families and better businesses.
Wow.
So it really reached out and grabbed us.
Oh, I love to hear that. It's a good example of how God has gifted you with gift, skills, and abilities and experiences that prepare us for the assignment that He has before us. So I appreciate you sharing that history with us, Henry. Can you give me just a little sense, and our listeners a sense of, what Regeneration Partners does kind of hands-on with a client? Like I'm a small company. I only have 5 employees right now. I've had up to 10. Do you work with companies in a specific size or a stage of company operations that you work with? What kinds of clients are coming to you for this?
We really work with all kinds of family businesses. The size is, I'm going to say the size is irrelevant. We only deal with a handful of clients a year, so we're very specialized. And so we really don't care how big or how small the company is, but the one stipulation is that it must be a family business. There must be, a husband and a wife, 2 brothers. Typically where we find our best fit is where you have one generation trying to understand how are we going to move this business to the next generation. And there's just an enormous amount of uncertainty about how to go about doing that. And that's where we are the best fit.
Okay. And so then do you work with your clients, Henry, like on a retainer basis? Do you work with them on, do you just come in once? Or, I would imagine this is almost like a kind of a medium-term engagement where you're coming in and you're really understanding them from the inside out so that you can advise them.
Vicki, you're exactly right. We kind of joke that there's only 2 people that our clients talk to, and that's us and their therapists. So we really do cover the gamut. It's not as simple as, hey, is your son equipped to take over the business? Because some of the obstacles facing family businesses are not simply that communication is not very good, and that's usually one of the main issues, or that there's conflict, which is quite common. There's not a very good sense of business, etc. Many times it can be literally psychological issues, alcoholism, drug dependency, and the like. So we get involved in a variety of different areas, but when you talk about how we work with clients, to be honest with you, we ask the client to commit to a 6-month engagement because it's going to take that period of time just to really get underneath the issues. And so, but I have to tell you that I would say 95% of our engagements go beyond 6 months, and Vicki, Patrice, many of them kind of go on forever. It's not that we're there all the time, but we continue to have a relationship with our clients because we know what's going on in their family and their family business, and we always remain a resource on the sidelines even after the quote-unquote engagement has officially ended.
Henry, let's deal with the challenges that comes up when you're dealing with generational business transition. Could you kind of speak to us a bit about some of the major obstacles that your firm has to help families address when they're trying to move the business from one generation to another?
Boy, how much time do we have? Well, let me just throw out a couple of quick statistics for your listeners to kind of get a baseline. Over 70% of all businesses in the United States, and probably more so around the world, are family businesses. So there's a lot of them out there.
Wow.
But at the same time,
I felt so special.
well, each family business is unique, there is no doubt. But I would say that over 2/3, statistics will show you that over 2/3 of all family businesses will not make it from one generation to the next, which is a very sad statistic. And that's really why we've called ourselves Regeneration Partners, is because we want to try to get that business to go to the next generation. And there's a myriad of areas that you need to focus on, but one of the two fundamental areas are, number one is communication. Typically, the communication level in any family business is not where it should be. And a lot of that derives from the fact that you're putting together two environments that in many ways are opposites. If you think of your family, with your wife or your kids or your parents, you're going to support your family no matter what they do through their entire life. And it doesn't really matter. Once you're part of the family, you're always part of the family, and you're going to love them and you're going to support them no matter what. Now you contrast that with, I'm going to call it the rough and tumble business world, where, hey, you've got to do what it takes in order to make a profit, because if you don't, then you may not be in business. Now that's kind of harsh, but a piece of that is true. So balancing those two things is very awkward. And so what happens many times is that, it becomes very difficult to tell your son that, hey, no, you can't show up 30 minutes late because you were tired this morning. And yes, you have to stay late and work with everybody else. And the business kind of has to come first in most instances with family businesses. And family sometimes can have to take the back seat, because you can't just place family members in any role if they're not capable of doing that. And you can't show favoritism towards them, because that would not allow you to have an effective business. So communication is one of the main areas. But one of the other areas that we have found is that typically in a first-generation or a second-generation business, the business was started because somebody saw an opportunity, like my grandfather, or basically that they didn't have any money and they were looking desperately to make some money. It wasn't that they were actually business people, and they didn't really understand all the facets associated with business.
Yeah.
Accounting and finance and marketing and sales and human resources and organizational theory and so on and so forth. But really just basic reporting. So those are the two main areas that we kind of dive into when we first get involved with a family business. And those are two of the main obstacles that we face when we encounter most family businesses.
Henry, what comes to mind here is just can you share a case study with us, some couple or family that you've helped that was in, that has hired you, and so kind of put a face on this for us, for our listeners, so that they can understand a little bit better about how this might impact their business. Because what resonated with me was when you were saying a lot of small businesses and family businesses don't really understand business, is kind of what you were getting at. They've been mom and pop, they've been doing this for a long time, but maybe they don't understand how to manage. They just know how to deliver their product. They don't understand profit. They don't know how to read, maybe some of the financials, and you're helping them break that down. Can you give us kind of an example of a family that you've helped? Maybe not by name, but
sure. And I obviously the names of our clients are confidential, but one of the great family businesses we worked with was in the insurance business. It was a second generation business. The son was running the business. The father had passed away, and there were 4 kids. And there was a son and a daughter working in the business, one at a higher level and one at a lower level. But the number 2 person in the company was actually a non-family business member. Now, the way that we got engaged with this client was actually a referral from their attorney. And the attorney called us up and said, hey, they've got some issues, and, how about if you give them a call and try to understand what's going on? Well, the issue was basically that Dad had come up with the master plan on how the business would go from one generation to the next. He was going to basically hand it to the non-family business owner, and he was going to run it for a period of time, and then he was going to pass it on to the son. And that was his plan, and he brought his wife into the attorney's office to sign the documents, and the wife said, if you make me sign this, then I'm going to divorce you right after this. So clearly that's not a very good answer to the problem. So we had the conversation, we got involved, and it was very dynamic, and I'm not going to go into all of the dynamics here. But the interesting thing was that, the son, when we sat down with him and we said, hey, do you like working here? Do you like what you're doing? Is this the business you want to be in? He would say yes, yes, and yes, and he would demonstrate that he was capable and so on and so forth. And then you kind of turn the conversation sideways and say, hey, what do you do for a hobby? And it turned out that his real passion in life was to play in jazz bands, play jazz guitar, starting at 10 o'clock at night. And what he really wanted to do was go back and get his Ph.D. in philosophy. And that struck us as very interesting. And so we were talking to the mother at one point, and she was trying to convince us that the son was the person to take over the business. And it's fascinating how these things work, but I asked her, I said, look, was your husband successful at this business because he got lucky and the economy was doing well, or there was somebody else in the company, or did he do it? And she convinced me entirely that it was all due to him, and that because he had these great skills, and I'll just call them skills A, B, and C. And then we took a little break, and I came back, and I said, that's great, let's talk about your son here for a minute. We talked for a while, and I said, look, do you think he would be good at this business? He said, oh, yes, because he's got skills X, Y, and Z. And I said, I let me flip back on my notes here, because I think you just told me that the skills required for this business are A, B, and C, and you're telling me your son has skills X, Y, and Z. And, it was an epiphany for her to realize at that moment that maybe her son was not cut out to run this business. Interestingly, we met the daughter who wasn't working there, and the father was, to be delicate, he didn't view that women were the type of people to work in the insurance business. And when we met his daughter, she was 25 going on 35. She had already reached the stage of being vice president in the company she was in, and we asked her who would be the best person to run her family's business. And she said, well, honestly, the only person in the family that could run that business would be me. and it ended up being a great story. She went back, got her MBA part-time, is now back in the family business, and the son is kind of doing more of what he's interested in. And the really fascinating thing is that because the son has now been given free rein to do the things that he is really passionate about, he's actually become a much better employee at the business.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so everybody's happy.
Wow.
Mom's happy, Dad's happy, everybody in the family's happy, and we're thrilled to death that it's come to such a great point in the longevity of this family business, and we're looking forward to it going to the third generation.
Amen. Henry, as we wrap up here because of our time, first, thank you for being with us. But as we close, share this with us. Could you give our audience a sense of how you see what you do impacting the advancement of the kingdom mandate, where we as believers are called to not only represent Christ, but also exercise dominion in the marketplace? How do you see this whole idea of, because we believe that God calls individuals, but he really calls families. And you're playing a critical role in helping families to walk in that. So how do you see all this tying in to that dominion mandate?
You know, Patrice, that's why I'm really excited and thrilled that you all have contacted us and we're having this opportunity. You know, one of the great opportunities that we have is in working with some of these family businesses. Unfortunately, many lose their way. They lose their way because they become too profitable, or they lose their way because they're struggling to make ends meet. And we find many of our clients kind of taking the wrong path. And that's where we are excited and that we can bring the opportunity for these to put these family businesses and the family members back on the right path. We have found clients who, from a business perspective, are billing clients that they shouldn't be, overbilling vendors, vastly overstating inventory, and cutting corners and not working in God's way with their vendors and their customers as they should be. And that's something that we always bring to all of our clients. And along those lines, one of our clients who we worked with who had lost his way, and we got him back on the path, and he was very grateful and thankful, he nominated us for a Business Ethics Award through this organization called the Society of Financial Services Professionals.
Wow.
And they own the Business Ethics Award program in the United States. And we were lucky enough to win a Business Ethics Award out of the greater Dallas area amongst a number of contenders. And so we're very honored and very proud that we can bring ethics that we think is very important in the Lord's kingdom to operate a family business, and all businesses for that matter.
Amen. Henry, thank you so much, man. Enjoy your vacation. When you get back, we got to connect so that we can strengthen our relationship even more.
Thank you, Henry. It's been wonderful having you on the Kingdom Business Forum. We particularly appreciate you taking time to Skype us from Buenos Aires.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Vicki, Henry knows what he's doing, what he's talking about. Henry is really committed to families. He does this out of passion. The key thing that Henry said that really marked me was the fact that family businesses, the low statistics in transitioning from one generation to another.
Yes, wasn't that impactful? 70% in the U.S. are family-owned businesses, but only over two-thirds will not make it. Wow, that was huge. He touched on calling, that it's not just passing it on to the person who has a pulse, but it's passing it on to the person who's called to do it, equipped to do it. I love how they bring integrity and solvency to companies, helping them understand business and communication. If you're just tuning in, by the way, you are listening to the Kingdom Business Forum. And Regeneration Partners is who we've been talking with, Henry Hutcheson. Regeneration-partners.com is their web address, but we're going to put this all out on our Facebook fan page at Kingdom Business Forum. We just appreciate you for tuning in. We hoped that in some way, Patrice and I today have helped you focus on generational business transition and really about bringing the kingdom through your business. Thank you for tuning in.